Kirtan. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught us to engage in kirtan. He showed by his personal example how Kalo Sankirtan Parama Upaya, in Kali Yuga, the best means of God realization is kirtan. Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtan. May the congregational chanting of the holy names of Krishna be ever victorious. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught that this kirtan is the natural function of every person, every living being, not only human beings. Mostly we expect human beings to chant Hare Krishna, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he also engaged the trees and the animals in chanting Hare Krishna. That's not possible for everyone. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was able to do that when he was going through the Jharkhand forest. He engaged even the lions and tigers and deer in chanting the holy names. And Haridas Thakur attested how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he even engaged the trees in chanting. He said that when you are chanting loudly, there appears to be an echo, but it's not actually an echo, it's the trees and immovable objects, they're also chanting the holy names. So, every living being should chant, must chant, by the grace of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, will chant the holy names of Krishna. Here in this verse, Krishna specifically says that those who are engaged in kirtan, glorification of myself, kirtayantam mam, those who are engaged in glorification of Krishna, they are great souls, they are Mahatmas. So actually everyone is supposed to be Mahatma. Mahatma Duratma. Duratma means opposite of Mahatma. Intrinsically everyone is Mahatma. But Oyam Mayar Das Karinana Obhilash. When we become servants of Maya, then we have so many desires. And when we become servants of Krishna, then Anya Abhilashita Shunya. No more desires. Only desire to glorify Krishna. In this material world, everyone is Duratma. We've all come here for serving Maya. And anyone in this material world who tries to serve Krishna is known as a Mahatma and is typified by the propensity to glorify Krishna. So this chanting of the holy names, especially the Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. This chanting and inducing others to chant the holy names of Krishna is the essence of the Krishna consciousness movement. In India, the movement that Srila Prabhupada started is well known as ISKCON. But outside of India or among the non-Hindu people, it's better known as the Hare Krishna movement, or in America just the Krishnas. They call them, we're not Krishna, but they call us the Krishnas. Because they don't say Hare Krishna, because in America they don't want to waste any time, so short as possible. Instead of saying the Hare Krishnas, they just say the Krishnas. Make it as short as possible. So we're known as the Hare Krishna movement, or the Hare Krishna religion, something like that. This chanting of Hare Krishna is propagated by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he says, Eha hoite sarva siddhi hoibe shobha. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Prabhu kahe lam, ei maha mantra, yaha jabagir shabe kare nibandha. Yaha hoite sarva siddhi hoibe shobha. Sharva Khan, Kahana, Vidhi Nahiya. He wants translation. Someone can translate it for Kumapati, who I've renamed Umapati. Hey, Umananda. Now I couldn't understand what Kumananda meant. Umanand, that we can understand. Someone will translate for him? Okay. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu declared, this is the Maha Mantra. Here this apartment is designated as Guru Vayo, which is also a place of kirtan, where they continuously going on the chanting of Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. The worship of the Lord is going on accompanied by the chanting of the holy names. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that this is the Maha Mantra that I just told you. And everyone should chant this, following the rules and regulations of devotional life. By doing so, everyone can achieve all perfection. There's no need to do anything else. This chanting in itself brings all perfection. And indeed, if we're always chanting, that in itself is all perfection. Kirtan, what is the result of performing kirtan? That we perform kirtan. Bhaktya sanjatayam bhakti. What is the result of performing bhakti? We go on doing bhakti. If we're actually doing bhakti, then the gift that bhakti brings is the opportunity to do more bhakti. The means and the end are the same. One may do some yoga practice with the aim of attaining liberation or getting mystic powers, or one may perform yagyas with the aim of getting some blessing. In demigod worship also, just like it's very popular in Maharashtra, this Ganesh puja. But when it's all over, then there's Visarjan. We call Ganesh, worship him, and then throw him away. We don't want to see you now. We did something, we got your blessings, we jumped around drunken for a few days, and we expect to get the blessings of Ganesh. How? I don't know. We expect to get the blessings of Ganesh by engaging in such degraded behavior. But this idea, you call God, you call the deity, worship for some time, then throw him. But Krishna Bhakti is not like that. By performing Krishna Bhakti, we become attached to the lotus feet of Krishna. And we only pray for the opportunity to do more service, more kirtan. So, Krishna Bhakti, it is not a temporary function. It is the eternal function of the soul. And by chanting in the neophyte stage, that will bring all perfection. That perfectional stage of chanting is also described by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Nayanangavadashu dharya vadanam gadgada rudhayagina pulakai nichitam vadukada tavanama vahane bhavishit. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is asking, when will that day come? That day is always there for him. That by chanting, that my bodily hairs will stand on end, tears will be flowing, be fully absorbed in the ecstasy of Krishna. But that he describes, he's already feeling. For us, he's saying like that. But he's already yogayatam nimeshena chakshusha pravrishayatam shanyayatam digatsam Govinda virhi. Feeling separation from Govinda, that tears are flowing from his eyes. And he says like torrents of rain, but actually even more so. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will be from his eyes, like coming out like from a syringe, making everyone wet. So much tears were coming from his eyes, forcefully, in love for Krishna. So this is the perfectional stage of chanting, when one is mad with love for Krishna. In the beginning, stage, we are mad. Everyone in this material world is mad. Nunam pramata kurute vikarma yat indriya pritya aprinoti na sadhu manye yata atmano yamasamnati kleshada asade. Everyone is in this material world is more or less crazy. Because we perform activities that simply lead us to suffer birth after birth. So everyone is mad, but by taking to Krishna consciousness, one should become sane. And having become sane by Krishna consciousness, then one goes on to the higher stage of being insane. In love of Krishna. Apparently insane. That insanity is desirable. That is the desired stage of perfection. Kabe Navadipe Suradhuni Tote Haradhe Ha Krishna Bale Nachya Gaya Baraivu Chute Nanalata Torotole. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that. When you lie in Navadip on the bank of the Suradhuni Ganga, running here and there like a madman, calling out Haradha Ha Krishna, running around among all the forests and creepers and trees. So he's desiring, when shall I be like that? Like a madman in love of Krishna. Actually, he was associating with Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, who gave great respect to Bhaktivinoda Thakur and treated him as his guru. Although Bhaktivinoda Thakur appeared to be like a very grave, sober person from external point of view. Very grave, sober, magistrate, government official. And Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, he was avadhut, not caring for the conventions of this world. He was just chanting, wanted to chant. His only business was chanting the holy names of Krishna. But he would be disturbed by people coming, give me ashirvad, well, there's a good sadhu, let's go and get some blessings so we can enjoy our life, material life more. So, out of disgust, he made his dwelling in the latrine. And they thought, oh, now he's in an impure place, we cannot go to see. But he cannot become impure. He can go there because he will not become impure. Rather, the latrine where Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj is chanting, that is more pure than millions of holy places. Sometimes he was feeling and he's chanting and chanting, Nam Svurti Hotsena. I'm not getting the name is not manifesting, so out of desperation, you just jump in the Ganga and stay there for 3 days and then come back. Everyone thought he'd drown. So many things. Avadhut. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur externally appeared to be a very sober, grave person. But the heart of Bhaktivinoda Thakur and the heart of Gaur Kishore Das Babaji is not different. Because the heart of both of them is Krishna. Sadhavo hridayam mahyam sadhanam hridayam taham. Krishna is the heart of the devotees, and devotees are the heart of Krishna, because the devotees know nothing but Krishna. Krishna knows nothing but his devotees. So externally the behavior of Bhaktivinoda Thakur and that of Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj may appear to be different, but at heart they are one. And they assume different functions within this world. This Prabhupada, when he was Abhai Charanaravinda Das Adhikari, asked his Gurudev, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, that Ramananda Rai and Rupa Goswami, the two of the very most intimate followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, yet Ramananda Rai lived as a householder with much opulence among his family. Whereas Rupa Goswami, he had much opulence and family and he rejected it all and went to live in Vrindavan. Tatva Turnam Shesha Mandala Pati Shrimin Sada Tuchala Bhutva Dina Ganesha Kokarunyam Kopina Kantashata. Giving up all the opulence as insignificant and association with great people of this world as insignificant. Rupa Goswami and the other Goswamis went to live a very renounced life in Vrindavan with only Gopin, Kanta and Kamandalam, nothing more. Kanta, you all know what this is? You know what that is? No, Kanta. That's Kantima. Kantima is Kanta. That means the poor people, any old cloth they don't throw away, they take it and they make some kind of quilt for the winter out of old rags. It's still, in Bangladesh, it's still they use. Here, something gets a little ripped and you throw it out and buy a new one. But the old culture is not throwaway culture, it's preserved culture. Nothing is thrown away. So, they had Kopi, Kanta, and Kamandala. Kamandala, water. This is what they had. So, why is that? Why was one living in opulence and the other not? Is it that Rai Ramananda was very great devotee of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, always with him, and especially Rai Ramananda and Swarup Damodar, especially in the most intimate pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they were his assistants in these. But Rupa Goswami, he appeared to be more renounced, so how is that? So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur replied that the renunciation of Ramananda Rai is no less than that of Rupa Goswami. But according to the individual circumstance, whatever was necessary for or favorable for their service to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they accepted. That's all. Rai Ramananda was to live with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Puri. His family was already there. They were all great devotees. So, great devotees, they may be in various conditions of life. Here in the purport, Prabhupada says that one can live this life in devotional service, guided by an expert spiritual master, in any position, either as a householder or a sannyasi or a brahmachari. Whatever one's position, one should go on chanting the holy names of the Lord. Grihe Thakur, this Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Grihe Thakur, Bane Thakur, Sada Hari Bale Thakur. One should go, the essential, or the essence is chanting the names of Krishna. Krishna Shanshakar, Charyanacha, Jive Doya, Krishna Nam, Sarva Dharmasha. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, so many things he's given, so many wonderful instructions he's given. So this is one of the best known instructions of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, saying that the essence of all dharma is Jive Daya, mercy to the jivas. This doesn't mean joining the Ramakrishna mission. This means preaching Krishna consciousness. And Nami Ruchi. Jive Daya Krishna Nam, chanting the names of Krishna. Krishna Shamsharkar. Become part of Krishna's family. Krishna Shamsharkar Charyanacha, giving up nonsense. Once again, among the disciples of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, there was some controversy that some of the brahmacharis and sannyasis were thinking, well, we're more renounced, we're better than the householders. The householders were saying, well, you can say that, but you're relying on our donations, so don't get too uppity. So the controversy came to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who referred the matter to one of his senior brahmachari disciples, who gave the conclusion that it doesn't matter what one's material position is, one should be engaged in the service of Krishna. As Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Naham Vipro Nachananapit Narapati Napi Vaishya Nashudra, not Brahmin, Vaishya, Kshatriya, none of these things. Shudra, not brahmachari, not sannyasi, but he identifies himself as Gopi Bhartur Padikamayo Das Das Das, the servant of the servant of the servant of Krishna, who is the master of the gopis. So in all circumstances, one should engage in kirtan, serving the devotees, hearing about Krishna, engage in devotional service in which the essence is kirtan, glorification of Krishna. This will lead to all perfection, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has said. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has also indicated what standard of kirtan, what is required. In defining kirtan as the most important part of bhakti, he has given some indication what standard of kirtan is required. Bhajane madhye shrishta navavidha bhakti Krishna prem Krishna dite hare mahashakti. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that among all the many ways one can serve Krishna, the 9 processes, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Archanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atma Nivedanam. These 9 are the best because they have great power to give us Krishna and to give us Krishna prema. Tarmadhe Sarva Shreshta Nama Sankirtan. Among all of them, he said, best is Nama Sankirtan. Because Niraparadhinam Loyale Pai Premadam. If one chants without offenses, then one can achieve the great treasure of love of Krishna. So this word is important. Niraparadhe, without offenses. How shall we chant? It should be without offenses. That's why at the time of initiation, always it's some elaboration. What are the 10 offenses to be avoided? Some elaboration is given. Sometimes it's asked them, well, anyone can chant the holy name of Krishna, that's the natural function of the jiva, so why take initiation? Even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has said, Dikka puras chadja viti opekha na kare, that for chanting the holy names, it's not necessary to take initiation. Then why have initiation? Because actually one can chant. If one has that tendency, then he can chant day and night, Haridas Thakur, like that. But we are not. We're chanting so many other things. Out of practice, we may start to chant the holy names, but then we have to push. Are you chanting? Yeah. Okay, how many rounds are you chanting? Okay, I'll chant 1 round. You stop harassing me, I'll chant 1 round. Okay, now you do 2. Oh, now he's harassing me. Okay, I'll chant 2. And gradually a little taste. All right, 4. Yeah, it's quite good actually. All right, I'll chant a little more. 8. And then, come on. Chant 16. All right, okay. So, this way, you have to push people a little bit. Try to encourage them. Bring them to some ceremony. Krishna Sevak, Jai, by the Mridanga. Chanting 4 rounds a day, Jai. Trying to encourage people to chant. But we don't have the taste of Haridas Thakur, but so much taste for chanting the holy names that he wouldn't even eat until he chanted 192 rounds. No eating, no drinking. And even very beautiful young prostitute was sent to seduce him, to try to break his chanting. He told, yes, I will attend to your needs, but first, just I'll finish my chanting. But his chanting never finished. And she became a devotee by his influence. But we don't have that taste. Because we have a taste for chanting other things than Krishna's name. We have a taste for poison. Hari Hari Vifale Janama Gavaya Manusha Janama Paya Radha Krishna Bhuji Janiya Shunya Visha Kaina. Narottam Das laments that I got this human form of life, but I didn't worship Radha and Krishna. So knowingly, I'm drinking poison. So we have a taste, perverted taste for poison. Just like I've heard it said that people who clean out garbage or they work in the sewers. In some countries they have sewers like that. It's like a metro railway. There's a path. It's underground. There's a path, and there's like a canal underground full of stool. And people who work in those sewers, they actually find a pleasant smell because they're used to it. If we smell it, they're horrible. They're thinking, nice. At least they tolerate. They're so much accustomed to them. So like that, we find that which is not nice, they find nice. Some people like to eat lobsters, which is like an overgrown cockroach. Some people eat cockroaches. They think it's nice. One devotee told me he was in some parts of Africa they eat cockroaches, a normal thing. So one devotee from America told me he was in Africa and they're sitting down to take prasad. He was sitting next to a new bhakta. So they're eating prasad, one cockroach went and the new bhakta reached out, chucked it in his mouth and said, "Hey Prabhu, you're not supposed to..." "Oh, sorry, I forgot." His habit was there. And we'll say, how can you eat that? That's horrible. People you go on the street in Bangkok, horrible smells. Maybe in China, all these places also. They have big bottle of live grasshoppers, and then they have a big korai, this wok with hot oil, and they empty it out over the people come, and it's very bad smell. People come and they're freshly killed, thrown in the hot oil, grasshoppers. People like to eat. It makes a big crunchy noise. They think it's very nice. And when we see it, we think, look, this is horrible. So like that, we're attracted to all horrible things. Things which are not reminding us of Krishna. Things which obstruct our Krishna consciousness. Therefore, we require training so that we can acquire a taste for the holy names of Krishna. That taste comes when we don't make offenses. We require to know what is Krishna conscious and what isn't Krishna consciousness. Therefore, it's required divyam jnanam yato dadyat kola papasya samshayam tasmat diksha iti puktam deshikais tattva vidai. Diksha means that process by which divya jnanam, transcendental knowledge, is imparted and one's sinful life is destroyed. This is the meaning of Diksha. So that is required. Anyone can chant the holy name, but we're not chanting. Or even if we chant, we do so with offenses because we don't know what is the difference between actual chanting and offensive chanting. Unless we hear and learn, we won't know the difference. So we have to learn and get trained. There are so many subtle contaminations also. So we have to learn what to chant. That's easy, to chant the names of Krishna. But even in this matter, there may be so much confusion. Different persons have invented their own mantras. Some Nitai Gaur, Radhe Sham, someone has invented so many different mantras. Or they have misappropriated the Maha Mantra. They'll chant Hare Krishna thinking that some Baba is Krishna. They make some new avatar of Krishna. Or even if we are in a bona fide sampradaya, the tendency for the karma bij or jnana bij to grow in our hearts instead of the bhakti bij, that is also always there. Bhavanya bhavate kono bhagyavan ji guru krishna prasade pai bhakti lata bij. One who is very fortunate has the seed of the creeper of devotion planted in the heart by the mercy of Guru and Krishna. And that seed is to be sprouted by our chanting of the holy names with the desire to serve Krishna. That hearing and chanting, that is the water that makes the plant grow. But if within our heart we maintain the karma bij or the jnana bij, then our hearing and chanting will water the weeds which choke the actual plant of bhakti. And it may be that we think that we're doing bhakti, and it may seem to be bhakti, but if our desire is for personal aggrandizement or liberation or anything but complete surrender to Krishna, then that is not the niraparada kirtan that will give us love of Krishna. So we have to learn and be guided what to chant, how to chant, with what attitude to chant, with what understanding to chant. If there's any mistake in any of these factors, then our chanting won't be perfect. Chanting is very easy, but it has to be done properly. And we say, well, properly, chanting means we're calling out to Krishna. That is on the perfectional platform. Chanting means that we're calling out to Krishna. It is direct interaction between Krishna and the devotee. But if we're not on the perfectional stage, then our kirtan, even it may feel to us to be very ecstatic, but it might not be Krishna conscious at all. Just like sometimes we see Mayavadis, they also do some kirtan. And they have some feeling, but what is that feeling? That is not Krishna Prem Sukh. At best that will be some kind of Brahma Sukh, some kind of impersonal understanding, because they cannot be Krishna Prem, even though they may be chanting and feeling some ecstasy. They cannot be Krishna Prem because they have due to their impersonal concept, they have no intention to surrender to Krishna. Their idea is that everything is all one, and their feeling of ecstasy is, now I'm merging into the Brahman by chanting the holy name. So that is not actual ecstasy of love of Krishna, though it may appear to be so. I've seen people chanting in apparent ecstasy, but chanting some kirtan, some invented mantra of some bogus incarnation. And it seems to them like they're in ecstasy, but that is not pure Krishna consciousness. It's a long way from it. Even by this Thaipusam, we see Tamil people, they also get some kind of ecstasy. They put what's that called? The shul, they call it kavadi. They put the kavadi in their mouth. You must have seen. Yeah? You have to go to South India. In South India, yeah. Tamil Nadu especially, Tamil people, the worshippers of Murugan, Kartikeya. So they put some, actually they can have a big spear this long, they put right in the mouth, or they put in the tongue some needles, and hooks in the back, and they'll, with hook in the back and some chain connected to the hook, they'll pull a big chariot behind them. Not one drop of blood will come. And they'll have some kind of ecstasy. They'll be dancing. But what is that ecstasy? That is very different to Krishna praying. How can we explain that? Well, it may be some kind of mercy of Murugan or some ghosts or whatever. We don't know. It's tamasic. It's not even sattvic. It's absolutely in the lower modes of nature. But it appears to be some ecstasy. So we can know that someone is actually experiencing ecstasy of love of Krishna when the kirtan stops. What are their activities afterwards? What is their attitude? Maybe they're experiencing or showing some great ecstasy. One devotee was explaining, he saw there was one bogus, this Nitai Gaur Radhesham, the guru of the Sampradaya. He died a long time ago now. But one of Prabhupada's godbrothers described that he was visiting some holy place and that bogus guru came also. And during the arati, the kirtan was going on and he was shaking his head wildly as if it looked like his head would almost come off. He was shaking it so well. And then when the kirtan stopped, this godbrother Prabhupada went up to him to talk to him. And then he was just talking normally and he said, well, how is that? Just 2 minutes ago he was complete ecstasy, apparently, showing some great... And now he's just talking normally. It appears that it was like some feigned show of ecstasy. So, so many times it's said that. Someone may say, well, I saw Ras Leela in my dream. If you saw Ras Leela in your dream, then why are you drinking coffee now? And you didn't see Ras Leela. It's just, one who's actually seen Ras Leela, he'll never come back to this material attachment. So, actually, what is kirtan? Actual kirtan means anya bhila shita shunya, with no desire but to glorify Krishna. That is required. But it may be that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also warned that we may have other desires. Nishidacha kutinati jive hinsham la puja pratishta jata upashakakam. These weeds that come from karma beans and jnana beans, they may manifest as not following the regulated principles, duplicitous behavior, pretending to be a devotee but actually having some other motive. Jiva hingsha, which means envy of other living beings. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur described that the worst kind of himsa is not preaching Krishna consciousness. That means that worse than Hitler, worse than Stalin, worse than Saddam Hussein is anyone who doesn't preach Krishna consciousness. Worst violence. Because some despot might torture and kill your body. But one who fails to give Krishna consciousness to others is by failing to do so, ensuring that they have to take birth and die and suffer again and again and again. So it's the worst violence. We may say Hitler was very bad, Stalin was very bad, Saddam Hussein, all very bad. But everyone is very bad if we're not preaching Krishna consciousness. But then, again, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu warns that even in preaching or being a devotee, there may be some danger in that also. Because people will praise, oh, such a great devotee. And then we say, oh, I'm preaching. Now people are praising me. That's very nice. Let me preach some more and people will praise me more. And it becomes completely material. And instead of preaching for the sake of uplifting others, we preach to increase our own false ego. I was just seeing in the newspaper in Germany, they're surprised, some scientists are surprised because there are frogs. They're finding so many frogs. It's just started happening that all of a sudden their body inflates and then they explode. So they said, we don't know what the cause of this is, but that must have been happening or in Bengal or whatever, because the Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur used to give this example of the exploding frog. He becomes more and more puffed up and his body becomes bigger and bigger till just explodes. So like that, we're preaching Krishna consciousness and yes, I'm a great preacher, and become more and more puffed up and then finished. So one has to, therefore Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, how to chant the holy names, Trinadapi Sunichana, Taradapi Sunishana, Kirtani Sada. One can actually preach if he's very humble. Other preaching to show I'm better than you, that will not be preaching. So, humble attitude is required. Not to. That means preacher has to be strong. He has to point, he has to say, as Krishna says, if you're not engaged in Krishna service, you're a rascal. He has to say, he has to preach Bhagavad Gita. This is Bhagavad Gita. He has to preach this. But he has to preach for the glorification of Krishna, not for the glorification of himself. This is required. Otherwise, that will be another kind of cheating. So, in our chanting, we have to see that along with the chant, is the philosophy correct? There may be so many people chanting. Just like I say in Guru Bhaya, they're chanting Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. But we won't find any pure devotees. Because they all have this, mostly all Mayavad ideas. Or even the Sai Baba followers, they're also chanting Hare Krishna. But you should keep it as far distance away from them as possible. We should associate with devotees. Devotee means who? Who's chanting the holy names of Krishna. But don't go anywhere near those Sai Baba followers. They're also chanting. But they're not chanting the names of Krishna. They say, yes, they're chanting. No, that's not. Krishna is not, he doesn't manifest himself on the tongues of such sinful people who claim that this person is Krishna. He didn't. That is not, they're not chanting. Krishna won't accept. Invalid, rejected. That is not chanting. So you have to see that one's understanding is correct. Otherwise, that was full of offenses. The second offense against the holy name is to consider even Lord Shiva or Lord Brahma to be equal to or independent of Lord Vishnu, and what to speak of some Sai Baba. How great an offense it is to consider him as Krishna. It's a very great offense. So one is to see that one is understanding properly what is Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, if we're chanting Hare Krishna, we're chanting Hare Krishna what? So that we can attain to Krishna. But if we think that Krishna is Sai Baba, or if we think that Krishna is just some historical figure, or we think that Krishna is that person who appears in the TV Mahabharata series, that Krishna, or if we think that Krishna is simply some manifestation of the impersonal Brahman, or we think that Krishna, he was some kind of immoral person, or if we think that Krishna is just some philosopher, if we have all these misconceptions, or if we think that Krishna is the supplier of fuel for the blazing fire of my desire for sense gratification, or if we think that Krishna is someone whose duty is to come and wipe my backside after I pass stool. You know, I have so many problems, you solve it, Krishna. That is Krishna's job. Now, if we conceive of Krishna like this, then we can never chant Hare Krishna. That is, we're not calling out for Krishna, because we don't know who Krishna is. Krishna won't come. We're not calling for Krishna, actually. We're calling for someone who we want to serve us. Or someone, we may apparently show reverence for Krishna. But if it's not with proper understanding of Him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead and ourselves as His servants, then we're not actually calling for Krishna. So that chanting Hare Krishna is not chanting Hare Krishna. Or even one may have a correct philosophy, but if one's attitude in chanting is contaminated by these desires for la, puja, pratishta, that will not lead to pure devotional service. Just like last time I was here, there was one person who was insisting you chant 64 rounds, and actually there's nothing wrong with it. I was quite harsh with him. Actually what he said, there was nothing wrong. But his attitude that I'm chanting, I'm better than all of you, and going around collecting up cheap disciples, it was very clearly that he wasn't chanting with his chanting was not with an attitude of pure devotion, but with some very clear personal motivation. So actually if we chant 64 rounds, it's very nice. Of course, Prabhupada said that we can chant 16, and most people, they don't have the time. They find it difficult to find the time to chant 16. So, Hare Krishna. You like what I'm saying? You're waiting to give it? To see if I'm talking nonsense? Now, this shows that I'm speaking okay, is it? I got the certificate. Better late than never. All right. Okay. So, yes, actually we should try to chant 64. Why only 64? Chant more. Kirtaniya Sadahi, always chant. So yes, we should chant 64. But Prabhupada has made some allowance for us, and we can't negate that either. And practically most of us are not in a position to chant 64 rounds immediately. So to push this point, that I'm chanting 64 rounds, I'm better than you all take initiation from something clearly faulty in that attitude. So I was harsh with him because of his whole approach, although if we preach in an unmotivated way, yes, please try to chant more. Chant 64 rounds. Now it may be that you chanted 60 rounds, now your family is grown up, you have no more family responsibilities, so you can take up preaching full time, you can retire and chant more rounds also. Yeah, this is very good. We should encourage. So it all depends on the attitude. That is also, we have to see what is our attitude in chanting, what is the philosophy we are preaching. All these things have to be understood. Now, all these techniques of devotional service are given. We have Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Who's read that? Nectar of Devotion? Who's read that? All read Nectar of Devotion? We should read this from time to time. Every at least few years, we should pick up and go through them. I remember this was maybe 15 years ago, 20 years ago. Giriraj Swami said, I just read through Nectar of Devotion after a few years, and I found that maybe I advanced a few pages. It's a progressive science of devotional service. Prabhupada is subtitled it, The Complete Science of Devotional Service. And in the first part, I've given the techniques of devotional service. And in the second part, actually there are 4 parts, but we can broadly divide it into 2 sections. There's devotional service there's sadhana bhakti, bhava bhakti, and prem bhakti are described. So sadhana bhakti gives the techniques of devotional service. Bhav, that arises from following the techniques. Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Krishna Nama Mahamantra Eto Shabhav, Jai Japi, Tare Krishna Upajaye Bhav. is the natural result of chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, that bhav, feelings for Krishna will arise. And from bhav comes prem, and from prem comes Krishna. We get Krishna. Name rati hoile, premera udoy, premete harike pai. When we get taste for chanting the holy names, then prem, love of Krishna will arise in the heart. And from love of Krishna, then we get Krishna. Krishna comes with this love for him. So, Nectar Devotion describes the techniques of devotional service, and then it describes the perfectional stage. Some glimpses of the perfectional stage. What are the different rasas? Some indication or examples of each of the different rasas. So there are techniques. How we should rise early, chant the holy names, see the form of the Lord in the temple, circumambulate the temple, associate with devotees, take Krishna Prasad. There are so many techniques of devotional service. But ultimately it all depends on the mercy of the Lord and His devotees. These techniques are supposed to awaken within our hearts the feeling or the desire to serve Krishna. And the more that awakens, the more Krishna will bestow His mercy on us. So techniques of it, we're pushing, chant 1 round, chant 2 rounds, chant 4 rounds, chant 16, read these books. But ultimately it is all meant to awaken the feelings for devotional service by which Krishna will be pleased to bestow His mercy on us. So technique is required, but it's not mechanical. It's not that, well, if we chant more, that we can demand Krishna. Now I'm chanting more, so Krishna, you should come. Sridhar Maharaj, our godbrother, who passed away recently. Last time I spoke to him, I didn't expect him to be the last time. I thought he was going to stay on more. But he told me, I haven't chanted 16 rounds for months. But he was in very good Krishna consciousness, and he passed away in the most auspicious manner. So he wasn't chanting. He chanted 60. He was very strict in chanting 60 rounds for many years, but there came a stage when he became very sick and he couldn't strain. Physically, he found a strain to chant so much. And he told me, I haven't chanted 16 rounds for months. But clearly, by his consciousness, he was always chanting Hare Krishna. He was in this state of remembrance of Krishna. So, I'm not saying don't chant Hare Krishna, or that we should at some point retire from Hare Krishna. I'm not saying that. I'm just offering the example how someone who chants and attains the mercy of the Lord, even they may apparently not be chanting, but they're always chanting. Whereas someone may apparently be chanting, but they never chant. Once Prabhupada went with one of his leading disciples, Brahmananda Prabhu, to visit one Vaishnav. There was some discussion about some land in Mayapur or something like this. So while they were talking with him, this devotee, he had his hand underneath his cloth, and he was moving like this. So when they came back to ISKCON premises at Mayapur, Brahmananda said to Prabhupada, you see, he was always chanting all the time we were with him. You see, his hand was moving like this with his beads. He must be chanting all day, so many rounds. Prabhupada said he never chanted Hare Krishna once in his life. see, he was chanting all the time. He said, no, he just has palsy. You know what that is, palsy? It's a disease by which your hand is always shaking. Now, if I consider, it's probably he didn't have palsy. Probably his hands were in beads and they were moving. Prabhupada said like that. Why did he say, I wonder, why did Prabhupada say that? It seemed like he was chanting. He said he never chanted Hare Krishna in his life. What a statement. Prabhupada discerned that his attitude in devotional service was not pure. And so even though he appeared to be chanting, that chanting wasn't counted. So, sadhu sabdhan, be careful. Are we chanting because we want to serve Krishna? Or are we chanting because we want Krishna to serve us? That we have to see. That chanting is not chanting. If we're thinking, what can I get from Krishna? Either subtly or grossly. So, we have to become pure devotees. Mahatmanastu Mahabharata. Daivīṃ prakritim ashrita. Bhajantyānanya manasam gyāna bhutāni bhajana. Fully taking shelter of Krishna. Ananya manasa, without any other desire. Then we can actually perform kirtan. Now we're performing kirtan. Maybe we have some mixed motives, but we have to come beyond these mixed motives and come to the platform of only desiring to serve Krishna. Then we can actually perform kirtan. Then we can join Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Kabe Navadipe Shuradhuni Tate. Ha Radha, Ha Krishna, Natya, Gaya, Varaiva, Chute. Nala Lata Taru Taru. Chanting and dancing on the banks of the Ganga. Suradhuni in Navadip. Calling out Ha Radha, Ha Krishna. Not caring for others. Fully absorbed in the ecstasy of Krishna consciousness. Then our kirtan will be perfect. Hare Krishna. Is there any question or comment about this?
When you mentioned about devotee, should not be demanding.
Devotee should not demand.
But at the same time, like when the devotee really advances, like we have the example of son of Namdev, or Krishna also, it's also told Krishna is Am Bhakta Paradhino, servant of my devotee.
Well, that's different. A pure devotee, when I said we shouldn't demand, I was talking about we. We means myself and all the other conditioned souls. When I said we, I didn't mean yourself and all the liberated souls. So when we shouldn't demand, doesn't mean that Mother Yashoda cannot demand. I didn't include myself in the category of Mother Yashoda. I'm praying for that day, but not yet. Mother Yashoda is demanding or commanding Krishna. Velo holo damodara aisha ekona bhoga mandire boshe karaha bhojan. Come, take your food. She's saying to Krishna, time's up. Now it's time to eat. Come here. She can do. We should not do. Anything else?
We are trying to do some devotional service.
We're trying to do devotional service.
And if some obstacles are coming, then
if some obstacles come, certainly many obstacles will come. There's no question of if.
to whom we can seek help.
From whom can we seek help? We have so many helpers. You don't know any helpers? You don't have any helpers?
Only Supreme Personality, because we can ask Him.
Ah, no, that's your mistake. It's not only Krishna. Krishna has so many assistants. If we think there's only me and Krishna, then we're on a neophyte platform actually. But when we understand that Krishna has so many devotees who are also our helpers, then we begin our devotional, that we begin our pure devotional service. Begins from that platform, Madhyamadika. Neophyte platform means Ishvare tadadhineshu. That's the Madhyam. What is it? Acharya vaharaye pujam ya shradhayan vite. Tad bhakteshu chanyeshu sabhakta prakrita smita. When we worship Krishna with great faith, but we don't recognize the devotees or other living beings, that bhakti is still very much influenced by the material platform. But pure devotional service begins with Ishvare tadadhineshu balisheshu drishachucha prema maitri kripo peksha yakaroti samadhyama. The intermediate platform where we recognize there's Krishna and his devotees and innocent non-devotees and envious non-devotees, and we accordingly worship Krishna, make friends with the devotees, take shelter of the devotees, give mercy to the innocent and avoid the envious. So when we know that Krishna is not alone, there are so many devotees of Krishna who are ready to help us, then we are ready to make more advancement. Unless we recognize the devotees, we can't actually advance. It seems like a very difficult proposition to you.
Maharaj, he may be thinking that there are some demands which only Krishna can fulfill. His devotees may not be in a position to fulfill. So where do you go?
Which demands are those? Only Krishna can fulfill. First thing again, we don't demand from Krishna. So if we're thinking to demand from Krishna, then you're saying we want to do bhakti, but bhakti means when we stop demanding from Krishna.
We are not demanding, but we need some help so that we can serve him better.
We need help to serve him better. Yeah. So devotees are there to help. You don't believe me. Anyway.
How to get that consciousness? Actually, you're telling pure bhakti you have to get.
How to get the consciousness of pure bhakti?
You are also contaminated.
Bhaktya sanjataya bhaktya. By doing bhakti, we get the consciousness. That will come from devotees. It's association. We have to seek out the association of devotees of the desire to serve Krishna. Then sangat sanjayate kama. From association, the desire develops. Do you read Prabhupada's books regularly?
Not very regular.
When you read, you'll get the inspiration to follow him. Otherwise, we'll get inspiration, guidance, blessings, everything by reading Prabhupada's books. Otherwise, if we don't regularly read, all the time, 24 hours, we're hearing asat katha. Then how are we going to become purified? Unless we associate with Prabhupada and the previous acharyas and Krishna by reading these books. All the time we're getting the wrong idea. So, unless we get the right idea, then we're going to be overwhelmed by the wrong idea. So we have to regularly study, hear. Prabhupada went to so much trouble to write these books. So we should at least take the trouble to read them regularly. And that will help us.
Maharaj, one more doubt. Actually, you told we cannot the form of Krishna. We did not see, and we are seeing pictures, and we are.
What's that you're saying? I can't understand.
You were telling that, for example, TV Mahabharata or something like that. When you see Krishna,
The TV Krishna, if we think that fellow who's playing the role of Krishna on TV, or as he depicts Krishna, this is Krishna. We can't find Krishna from some paid actor taking the part of Krishna. He cannot. Krishna will not manifest through him.
We are looking at a picture also.
I never watched that on TV. You watch. That's why I'm saying that. That's why I'm saying that you won't understand Krishna like that.
Just generally, we are looking at a picture on books and other places.
The picture is Krishna.
So we need some form to associate and also we can remember, for example, now.
Krishna is his form. It's not that by seeing the form of Krishna we remember some other Krishna who is represented by the form. Krishna is his form. You have to read Prabhupada's books more. Please. You have this Bhagavad Gita as it is in your home? So, you please do one thing. You open it up every day and read it. Okay? It's very good advice for you and for everyone to read these books regularly. How much benefit you will get from that, you will see when you start to do. And don't stop. Sometimes you may be very busy and think, I can't read today. Then you'll lose the habit. You have to read everything. I'm too tired, I'm too busy, too hungry or whatever. Daily. You have to read. Otherwise, how can we understand what Krishna consciousness is? We won't understand from the newspaper, from the TV, from the people at work, from our relatives. We won't understand from them. We can understand from Bhagavad Gita as it is. Is that right? You've all heard, coming from Hindu families, you've all heard of Krishna since your childhood. But did you understand anything about Krishna before you came in contact with Prabhupada's books? Even people, they're born in traditional sampradayas, Vallabh Sampradaya, Ramanuja Sampradaya. And in their homes, the worship of Krishna is going on. But so many people told me, some kind of worship is going on, but we never knew anything about Krishna consciousness until we came in contact with Prabhupada's books. Just they do the puja and say, Sri Krishna Sharanam Mama, and swing lala, and watch TV. And some sentiment is there for Krishna, but who is Krishna? Even Rasaraj Prabhu, who some of you may have known, he's quite well known in our movement. He's a very much gifted as a scientist and explaining Krishna consciousness in terms of science. But he told us something that surprised me. He's from a traditional Sri Vaishnava family in which they're worshipping the Lord in their home. He said he never knew anything about karma and reincarnation until he read Prabhupada's books, which he read in America. He was working in America, and he never knew anything about it, which is surprising. So you have the fortune to have some sentiment for Krishna. That Mahabharata on TV, when it was on TV, then the streets became empty. Everyone was watching, and the ladies were all ready. Well, Ramayana came, especially Ramayana. They'd all be waiting with their puja thali, and they'd be doing. So that sentiment is there. That's very good, but that has to be solidified by proper knowledge of Krishna consciousness and how to practice it, by association with pure devotees. Otherwise, TV Sita won't help you. This actress who was playing the part of Sita, she didn't like it actually, because what happened, wherever she went, the people wanted to worship her as Sita. But she's a Bollywood actress, and they're nothing like Sita. They're just the opposite. So she wanted to be just the opposite. And the people wanted her to be like that. But she said, I don't want to be like that. I want to have boyfriends and wine. And she found it a disturbance that people wanted to treat her as Sita. So what benefit she might be a good actress and have a prettily formed body, which is made of blood and bones, a perverted reflection of the transcendental, incomparable transcendental beauty of Sita Devi. Now already, when was that? That was 15 years ago, no? Ramayana came out. So that actress, she's, whatever little beauty she had, that's already finished. Must be. It'll all be lines on the face and no more beautiful. So she only imitates Sita. So we want the real Sita. But we cannot get the real Sita but like by Ravana's method. Kidnap. That won't work. We have to worship Sita Ram, Lakshmi Narayana, Radha Krishna. Hare Krishna. So we'll wind up there. All glories to His divine grace, Srila Prabhupada.